Hi everyone. So today what I wanted to do was give you a bit of an introduction to me, who I am. So I'm Alex. I'm the host of the live sessions, and what I wanted to do was just kind of introduce you to me. Just talk about me, who I am. What my thoughts are, what my beliefs are, where I stand on a lot of things, and just let you get to know me a little bit. In case you have any interest, of course. I'm certain that throughout the course of doing these videos and the conversations and so on that we're intending to have, that there will be it'll be easy enough for you to start to find out things about me, and there'll be issues and things that we talk about that you'll learn how I think and feel about them. But I think what I wanted to do was just give you sort of my sort of basic sort of core level beliefs, I suppose, because those are the things that I think are most important to most of you. So I think that the first one to address is the idea of a higher power, God, if you like. So I do believe there is some sort of higher power, but I don't necessarily feel that it is a conscious one in the sense that we would understand. Like, I don't feel that there is a higher power that wants us to behave in a certain way, and that will put restrictions on what we do and how we do it, and will punish us in the afterlife if we don't do those things. I don't feel that is actually excuse me. I don't feel that is actually something that seems likely at all. I just don't think it has any expectations on us or anything like that. I think if there is a higher power, then it is something that we just probably can't even fully contemplate or understand, because it would operate in a way that is so far above us in terms of its level of existence that we just wouldn't be able to contemplate it anyway. So although yes, I believe that there is a higher force that has probably created or had a hand in creating life, I don't believe it's a conscious human-like manifestation. I don't buy that. It doesn't feel realistic to me. So the next one I want to talk about is sort of well-being, health, mental health, all those sort of things. And I have always felt that well-being is predominantly mental, by which I mean that if you have a positive outlook and you think positively and you live your life in a positive way and you are generally happy, you don't give in or succumb to stress very much, you don't have lots and lots of reasons to be upset and unhappy or anything like that. And I think that in general your life will just be better, for the simply based on the fact that your hormone levels and your white blood cell count, your immune systems and so on, aren't constantly being stressed by your own mind wearing you down. I know people who are prone to thinking in that way, and they're in their 50s and they look like they're in their 70s, or they're in their 30s and they look like they're in their 50s. It is very noticeable how much something like that ages you and wears you down, and it is in no way going to give you a positive life. It's a very famous saying, but it is entirely true that a negative mind will never give you a positive life, and I believe that absolutely. I also think that critical thinking is something that has been lost on people. And I must be honest, I don't know if I believe that it's ever been something that has been taught, if it's something that ever has been part of education. My opinion is that it feels like it was once part of your education. It was once part of the education system that you were taught how to think clearly and how to think critically and how to actually think rather than simply believe the things you're told. I feel that in the modern day and age, especially, that has gone almost entirely from our lives, and that's something that will only ever lead to bad things. The more ignorant a population gets, and the more devoid of rational thinking you get, the closer to hell you get. And if we're looking at going back to the principles of higher powers and things like that, do I believe in heaven and hell? No, but I do believe that it's possible to manifest something very much like that here on Earth. So by living your life in a certain way and being a good person and doing things well and encouraging the society and the people around you to do the same thing, and you create a harmony and you create a heaven-like place where happiness is the predomination. Equally, if you go the other way and you go down the very selfish route, the very authoritarian routes, and you start trying to take things from some people to give them to other people, then it's very easy to start to create hell, and it's very easy to see how that very quickly starts to happen. So yes, do I believe in heaven and hell? Not in the traditional sense, the same way as I don't believe in necessarily God in the traditional sense, but I do believe all of these things they form part of the structure of our world subconsciously. And I think that our ancestors were a little bit more attuned and understanding of that. And I think that our modern day kind of shift away from the religious, if you like, is precipitating a lot of very lost people who can't think critically, can't think clearly, and will follow bad and dangerous dogmas. And hence you see the divisions that are starting to happen in the world. As far as government goes, I would consider myself a libertarian, in as much as I believe that the government should have the absolute minimum to do with your life as possible. The real purpose of government, in my opinion, is to protect its citizens, but as much as possible protect them from outside influences that therefore allow them to live their lives in whatever way they see fit, so long as that way isn't directly going to harm others. So, do I agree with the lockdowns? Absolutely not. I never have from the very beginning. I have always believed that such actions were completely wrong and had no justification for any reason. The moment you put safety above freedom, there is nothing that you can't take away. There is nothing someone cannot take away from you in pursuit of your safety. Think about animals at a zoo. They are incredibly safe. They're looked after. Nothing can hurt them or attack them, but they live at the absolute antithesis of freedom. And you could imagine, without too much of a leap, that the lockdowns were not a lot different to that. They locked you up in a virtual cage of your own home and told you couldn't go out because that was safe. I'll leave that one there. The next one I want to come into is the way we look at problems in the world. So I think again, it's endemic of our current lifestyle that what happens now is there's always this belief that there's some sort of solution. There's a way to fix everything, and it's only when you get a bit older and a bit wiser and a little bit more educated that you realize that actually there's not really any such thing as a perfect solution. There's always some kind of trade-off. You've always got to damage something in order to make something else better. You've got to make something worse in order to make something else better. And really what you're trying to do is find the balance that makes those trade-offs better in the aggregate. And so there's no perfect solutions to things. So approaching a problem with the world from a political standpoint is very rarely going to create a solution, for the simple purpose that, first of all, it probably wasn't a political thing that caused that issue in the first place, and secondly, it's far more complicated than that, and that is part of the problem again, you know. I think that it's important to step back once in a while and look at things objectively, to remove yourself from the emotional attachment you feel to a situation or to a problem or to a cause or an issue or anything that it is that you are finding is giving you cause for angst. And when you can step back from it and remove yourself from the kind of the emotional burden of it, it's a lot easier to see it for what it is, and it's a lot easier to understand how to deal with it. And I think that links back to the point I was talking about with regard to critical thinking and being taught how to think. You need emotions in your thinking. You do need emotions, because generally your emotions they're based on things that your mind picks up on that you might not necessarily see, even if you take a logical step back. So emotions are important, and when you actually boil it down, we make most of our decisions based emotionally. Usually what we do is we apply some logic and reason to support our emotional decision rather than the other way around, which isn't always a bad thing, but there is obviously a lot to be said for making sure that you're making decisions that make sense and are worthwhile for you. So I know from my personal experiences that if you are able to take a bit of a step back, you are able to remove some emotion from the situation. It is easier to see it. It is easier to understand it, and it is easier for you to make sound judgments and decisions when you do that. And again, I think that's something that very few people remind themselves of often enough. And I do it myself. You know, I've made plenty of emotional decisions in my life, some of which have turned out good and some of which really have not. So I absolutely couldn't say with any certainty one way or the other that every decision I've ever made has been a good one, because it absolutely has not. But then every decision I have ever made has always, let's say always, no, the decisions I have made in my life have led me to where I am in life, and where I am in life is not exactly where I would have dreamed to be where I am now, but it's definitely a long way away from what the worst case scenario would have been. So I can't really complain about that either. Obviously, you know, you think about things and you think, you know, if I knew what I knew now and I was able to go back to being 20, would I make completely different decisions? Maybe. But unfortunately, we don't get to make that choice. It's completely hypothetical, and I find hypothetical questions and things of that nature fairly relatively pointless exercises to imagine yourself going back in time to your younger self and changing what you did with your life, because half of what you did with your life taught you all the things you would go back and try to do differently. So I'm not entirely sure of the merit in that. Anyway, the last point I want to make is this, and that is intentions are no guarantee of outcomes. In other words, simply because you go into something with good intentions, it doesn't mean that you're actually going to get a good outcome from it. It doesn't mean that it's actually going to be something that works out well. And you can see that in policies that have been enacted by governments plenty of times in the past. They go in with this idea to create better things for people, and the reality is they make life worse. And that isn't an intentional act. They say that the path to hell is paved with good intentions, and that is hauntingly prophetic. I find that it has so often worked out that way, which gives me obviously a reason to pause and think, because my intention with what I'm doing here is, I feel, a good one. But you never know how it might turn out. So I cannot say with any certainty one way or the other how it's going to turn out. But I feel that by trying to do what I'm doing, its intention is not to tell you how to live or how to be or what to do with your life. Its intention is to try to equip you with the tools and the knowledge to make better decisions. And I know how valuable that was to me. So I hope that it's valuable to you. Now, I could go on and on and on, obviously, for a long, long time about all the other things that I think and all the other things I believe. And if there's anything in particular you want me to address, please do put it in the comments below. I'd really appreciate you subscribing. Please do subscribe to the videos. And I think nowadays you have to press that little notification bell to actually be told that you're going when new videos go up, so that you actually know when there's things there for you, because apparently the subscribe button does very little for you these days. You need to make sure that you have got the notification bell turned on, so you actually get given any sort of warning that there's stuff there for you to watch. So please do that, and put your comments below. I'll be adding into the bio of this video the links to our social media, and I'll probably also be adding in possibly on the next go around the links to our Patreon and our locals pages too, so that again you guys have got the opportunity to donate to us if you so want to, and support our what we're trying to do here. So yeah, that's me, Alex. I'm really looking forward to getting to speak to you all.